Good evening from the News Radio, 1120 AM and 93.7 FM, KPNW studios. I'm Bill Lundun, co-host of the Wake Up Call, heard 6 a.m. to 9 Monday through Fridays on this fine station, streaming online at kpnw.com. But you can just call me Seamus. All right, here's a look at the stories we're following. And once again, the governor's personal life is just making life wonderful. So you've heard all about, I'm sure, the governor's wife, Tina Kotek Wilson. Well, Governor Kotek requested official guidance, opinions, and advice around the role of the first spouse from the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. And this is what the Ethics Commission said. Susan Myers, the commission's executive director, responded, well, they couldn't provide any guidance to the governor. Myers reminded the governor that, the commission has received complaints already related to issues about the First Lady and has opened a case in preliminary review. And because of that, they can't give her any advice because they're in the middle of reviewing the case. The commission, they said, cannot provide any guidance, advice, or opinions at this time. She added the commission would answer the questions once the case before the Oregon Government Ethics Commission is resolved. Now, details of any of this haven't been made publicly available. The commission has 60 days to complete what they call a preliminary review and then determine if it's going to investigate what it's preliminarily investigating. A report of that review is going to be presented during an executive session of the commission, which means that it's going to be very hard for this to get into public view. Now there's more. Andrea Cooper, we told you about her. She was Governor Tina Kotek's chief of staff, and she left over this whole thing with Kotek Wilson. She did that on March 22nd, along with two other top aides, at the same time that Amy Kotek Wilson, Governor Kotek's wife, became sort of the political topic du jour. According to the Willamette Week now, Andrea Cooper didn't quit. She was sacked, which would lead you to ask the question, why? At this point, nobody seems to know. What is known is that Cooper actually signed what's called a confidential transition agreement with Kotek, which was obtained through a public records request. Again, kudos to Willamette Week. And it shows that Cooper is going to continue to collect her $303,000 a year salary as a special advisor to the Director and Chief Operating Officer of the Oregon Department of Administrative Services. Now, absent in Oregon a tort claim, which is, sort of a letter that you send before you actually file a lawsuit, the state actually doesn't pay severance to terminated employees. Cooper's transition agreement appears to be the result of a negotiation between Cooper's attorney and the state, or the governor, which kind of is the state. Anyway, Cooper's new gig will end November 29th, and she's supposed to be conducting comprehensive organizational assessments and advising the director on a variety of topics, including change management, organizational design, team effectiveness, and leadership development. Apparently something that's not happening in the governor's office right now. The transition agreement says it can be terminated earlier by mutual agreement of the parties or if Cooper finds alternative employment. Kind of makes you wonder why exactly that blew up if the governor fired Cooper as opposed to Cooper quitting. So that's 3 bodies so far? Well, now, it was announced on Wednesday that one of Governor Tina Kotek's top attorneys is also leaving, making it the 4th staffer to leave the governor's office in less than a month. This staffer is Lisa Burrows, Kotek's deputy general counsel, who's going to go to work as a private attorney. In March, of course, the 3 of Kotek's top aides announced their departures in a move that sources with knowledge of the governor's office said is tied to the expanding ambitions of First Lady Amy Kotek Wilson, as, well, she wants to have a say now in policy matters. You know, by the time this is all over, probably the only staffer that's going to be left in the governor's office is a janitor. And he's already looking. Okay, so let's talk about Oregon schools. Oregon schools, and it's pretty much across the state, school districts are bleeding money. And there's a lot of asks out there. But this is one school district that's not afraid of extortion. So their message to voters in the Jervis area is, give us the money or the kids get it. So that would be the message from the Jervis School District, which is a small school district that is about 870 students. That's just a little bit north of the Salem-Keizer School District and incorporates a number of little towns out in that particular area, like, for instance, Brooks and other small towns, into one larger district. Well, what the Jervis School District is saying is that since 1991, they've tried 8 times to pass bond measures, ranging from $4 million to $38 million for a variety of maintenance upgrades and ideas. Well, now the Jervis School Board is saying it is giving voters in that district one more chance to pass a $28 million bond in the May 21st election. And if not, the board says it's going to vote to dissolve the district, which has 870 students. And what they said was, those kids can go to other Marion County schools. So let's look at the Bend-Lapine School District. They are going to be bleeding staff in their next budget. 77 positions lost. That was formally announced Tuesday at their board meeting. But that's not all. They're saying that these are not the only ones, and that number of positions cut is going to have to double in the next year. 2,100 school members right now, and all of the positions are going to start getting cut. So part of the reason here, and we've heard this before from just about every district in Oregon, is a decline in enrollment. The projected enrollment for next school year, 2024 through 2025, is 16,940. On October 1st of last year, enrollment was 17,134. And funding for the district has essentially hit a cliff. The end is nearing for one-time funds that were sent to schools that were supposed to make up for a loss of learning from the pandemic. But as we told you a couple of weeks ago, study into that showed that schools didn't use it for, well, making up learning losses at all. They used it for capital projects like buildings and stuff like that. And also, well, paying teachers more. And that federal money is going away pretty soon. Then you have another issue that's hitting the district, more salary increases, and the cost of PERS, that's the state retirement system, is going to rise as much as $3 million a year for the district starting in 2025. And if the district doesn't do anything, the school board there projects it's going to face a deficit in its general fund. So it's going to start cutting bodies. Now you have another school district. That would be the Silver Falls School District, which covers the city of Silverton. A financial analysis shows that the district is facing a $4 million shortfall for the current budget that ends June 30th, which is way worse than last week the school board originally thought. So they brought in sort of an auditor, Jackie Olson, executive director of the Oregon Association of School Business. She made a bunch of recommendations. The district needs to immediately cut $1.2 million from its current budget right now and adopt a budget for 2024-2025 that reduces another $8.8 million from expenditures, and they need to take out a short-term loan from the state. Now, Olson said, and I'll quote, "In all of my analysis, I did not find anything. No crimes were committed. This is just a revenues are down, expenditures are up. It's a miscalculation." And that analysis flies in the face of allegations made by the Silver Falls Education Association, which is the union representing more than 200 teachers and counselors. In fact, the main reason that the budget is upside down is because, well, they're over budget by $2.7 million currently in instruction expenses, including staffing, which is 75% of the district's budget. District records show that enrollment, again, dropped 7% from 2020 to 2023, while full-time licensed positions inexplicably increased by 5.3% in the current budget year. And why? Well, that was part of the last budget negotiations, that more staff be hired. The school board says they're going to meet, actually, later on tonight to vote on taking out a tax anticipation note and then try to decide what else they're going to do. Now, the Jewel School District, which is over near Seaside on the Oregon coast, has taken a different tact, and admittedly a reasonable one. The Jewel School District filed a lawsuit against the Oregon Department of Forestry over its controversial habitat conservation plan that would reduce the amount of money the school receives in timber harvest revenue. The lawsuit claims ODF's plan won't generate the level of revenue required under the Oregon Department of Forestry rules, which is going to lead to a significant budget cut for the school district, and so we'll see you in court. And of course, the district already says, yep, they're planning potential job cuts because of the anticipated shortfall in their budget. Here's more fun. In most Oregon school districts, students miss school more often than the national average last year. Oh, do you see where this is going? So in the 4 years since COVID-19 closed down schools, U.S. education has struggled to recover on a number of fronts, including, well, learning loss, enrollment, and student behavior. But they have seen nationwide a sharp increase in what they call chronic student absenteeism all across the country. Nationally, it's estimated that 26% of public school students were chronically absent last year. But Oregon said, oh, hold my chalk and eraser. In Oregon, it was 38% of students statewide that were chronically absent, meaning that once again, Oregon can say, we're number one. We're number one. You go, Oregon. And also kind of a part of this little education block, Oregon's colleges and universities are jacking up tuition. OSU voted last Friday to raise tuition 4.9%, and Portland State approved new higher tuition of 4.8%. U of O's Board of Trustees, which I think we reported back early in March, already voted to raise tuition 3% for new undergraduates next year. So, the reason, by the way, that those hikes came in at just under 5% tuition is because if they approved anything more than that, that would trigger a review and require the approval of the state's Higher Education Coordinating Commission, which in the past actually lowered and in a couple of cases blocked tuition increase for universities. In other words, yeah, keep it just under 5% so at least we can get as much money as we can, because they don't want them actually looking at our revenues and our budget and saying you can do more with less. Well, I think that's enough. Little look at the governor, little look at education, and you can see why Oregon is on the road to superiority. All right, Rick, that's a wrap. Do some real. Get real, Rick. That's alliterative. I like it.